Hey, what's up, Reefers? I'm about to go to the Philippines for 2 weeks, and in this 2 weeks, Sally's gonna help me take care of the tank. But that also means that for 2 weeks, nobody is really gonna stick their hand into the tank, so the tank is just gonna grow by itself. And in my past experience, whenever I do not put my hand into the tank, usually grow a lot better. So I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm gonna film right now to get like a snapshot of how the tanks looks. And then 2 weeks later, after I come back from Philippines, we're gonna take a look at the tanks again to see what have changed and what have grown. So let me take you through a really quick tour. First, we're gonna look at the 45-gallon tank. I was having a little elk issue before with the Red Sea Coral Pro salts. Because I was not a pro, I did not know the salts statistic. So it was having major alkalinity swing issue. But as you can see now, it has really bounced back and things are doing really well. But let me just give you a quick look of the tank. It's kind of like a snapshot before I go. I did a water change yesterday to make sure that the tank is in its best condition before I take off. And I'll show you guys the frac rack as well. Alright, so this is the 45-gallon. Let's take a look at the 17-gallon drop-off tank, Mochi's home. So these...
Find any enabled video skills. Go to the music video and books section of the Alexa app.
Damn it, Alexa, killing me. So the drop-off tank, the salinity is a little bit low. It was at 1.023. I think what happened is that I was kind of sucking the detritus out over time, and then I did not top it off with salt water. So the salinity went down without me knowing. But otherwise, things seems okay. The SPS are not doing awesome, especially the bird nest. It's kind of stripping. It probably has to do with the salinity issue. The bird nest, for the most part, is doing good polyp extension. However, the side that's closest to the frog spawn is getting stung. The frog spawn is really taking off and is stinging its neighbor. So I will need to address this once I get back. Same thing with the Fethadendro in between the frog spawn and the kryptonite candy cane. It's kind of being crowded out. The polyp is not really extending, probably due to the frog spawn as well. But for the most part, everything else seems alright. I am slightly concerned because Mochi was able to take down the full strike damsel at some point overnight. And it's looking a little bigger. So we'll see if the yellowtail blue damsel remains after I get back from a trip 2 weeks later. Now let's swing over to see my little tank over here. This is my guilty pleasure. This is the feeder ghost shrimp tank. I added some substrates, added some plants, and it looks kind of yellow right now, probably because of my white balance. It was set to counter the blue. So it's a little bit more yellow or red here. But I stocked it up with a decent amount of ghost shrimps before my trip. There's probably like 8 or 9 guys in there. And I'm really interested to see how the plants grow in this 2 weeks. Because when I got these pennyworth, it is in its terrestrial state, meaning the leaves are a lot larger. And from talking to the LFS employee, they say that the leaves gonna shrink. So you see how these are already shrunken down? If you look back to my older videos, so they should continue to shrink as they morph into the aquatic version, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we will see. I noticed that I got some yellowing and black dots on some of the leaves, but it has been slowly going away. I'm not quite sure what it is. It may be chlorine burn from the tap water I'm using. I should really leave it overnight, but I'm just like dumping the tap water in there. So I will also keep an eye open on how it progressed in the 2 weeks that I am not here. Alright fellas, so that is it. That is a snapshot of the 3 tanks that I have. We got the drop-off here, and then we got the 45-gallon. I'm especially interested in seeing how the 45-gallon recover from the elk swing and continue to grow. I'm especially keeping an eye out on the 24K. I can't pronounce it. You guys know I can't pronounce it. Left toe something. That guy right there. Because it seems to be coming back. The front portion, where I thought is completely dead tissue, actually started retaining and getting a little bit more gold. So I am kind of excited to see where it will be in 2 weeks, especially without me sticking my dirty hand into there like every minute. Alright guys, I will update this video when I get back from Philippines, and it will be interesting to see how things have progressed. See you guys in a bit. Emily, dang it!
2 weeks later.
Hey, what's up, Reefers? I am back. After 12 days in Philippines, I am finally back home, and man, what an amazing trip it is. I did a lot of snorkeling, scuba diving in general, and I got to see a lot of really densely populated coral reefs, and I have a new appreciation and a new perspective on how coral should be grown and how I should aquascape my future tanks, and there's some plan change. But before I get into those, let's take a look at how the tanks did while I was away. So first, let's take a look at the 45-gallon tank. Thank you to Miss Average Reefer Sally. Things are looking fantastic. If you follow me on my Instagram, you may have caught the live stream. I actually lost one of the green chromas the day before I leave. I thought that's like bad juju. But so far the other guys are totally okay. And you see the female clowns is really aggressive. That is probably because she's really hungry and right in front of the tank. Normally she does not dive bomb them that badly. But the green chromas, all 8 of them are still alive and well and kicking and pretty healthy. And I'm really happy to report that the Montipora cap seems to begin growing once again. The color has returned. We still have some white spots, but the rims have once again growing outwards. And looking down there, we see the 24K left something. Now we can clearly see what part has died and what part is growing and coming back. As I really slowly zoom in. The parts that's dead, you'll see some algae growing on top of it. But as you can see, some of the gold is starting to come back. And they are starting to encrust over the dead area, which I see as a good sign. Another thing that I was worrying about before I leave was the clam. The clam was showing almost like a pinch mantle for a few days, but I think he has fully recovered and looking healthier than ever, so that is fantastic. Everything else seems to be doing pretty well. The bubble tip anemone has really opened up largely. Frog spawns are doing well. These got moved from there. It got kind of blown to the front. And I saw that Gaston shell is laying here. I don't think Gaston is in there, so I think he probably switched shell at some point, but the GSP is growing well on that shell. Elegant's doing well. We got a snail that got flipped over that I gotta address. All the frags are doing okay. Same up here. The Rasta is starting to look really good as it flattens up against the frag plug. So this tank, I'm pretty happy about. There's a thin layer of algae on the glass, that's to be expected since it has not been cleaned for 2 weeks. Honestly, I was expecting more algae. On the sand bed, we see a light dusting of diatom. That was a surprise. I'm not quite sure what is going on here. And of course, we see the Yasha goby and the pistol shrimp doing well. Also, another thing that I'm happy about is the brain coral, or the Favia, is starting to plate out on the sand. I was a little worried that the sand is going to cover and damage, kill off the tissue at the bottom, but it looks like it's kind of growing on top of the sand, which is fantastic. Conch is doing well. So overall, the health of this tank is, good job, Sally, thank you so much. Now, let's take a look at the drop-off, where the thing's kind of not the happiest. So, early on in the trip, Sally told me that the ATO is not working. So, she was trying to, basically this tube, the tube is not, I think it's not staying put, and I finally figured out the reason. Somehow it got moved. You see how I got there's a two magnetic holder here. It actually got stacked up on each other. So maybe what happened is that this tube got bumped by a snail or something and kind of floated off, and then it stuck itself to the the sensor of the smart ATO, and the holder kind of just jumped and stuck on top of the sensor's magnetic holder as well. So she was probably like, oh, where does this go? Like, how does this thing stay in place? So when I came back, I mean, this whole thing is kind of stuck together. When I came back, this thing is just kind of sitting like this. So she told me that she was trying to fix it, couldn't figure it out. So she had just been manually topping off the water every time she comes, maybe every like 3 days or so. And I think as a result, the water parameter is not as stable, and things suffered. Look at the bird nest. The backside is all white, but I feel like there may be something more to it. I feel like maybe it was really close to the frog spawn before, and the frog spawn was kind of like just like killing off the tissue right there. And then if you notice, it actually got kind of pushed out. So I think a big Mexican turbo snap probably came through and pushed it out. The good thing is that all the front side is okay, so it's just a matter of time before it kind of recolonizes and grow back there. However, I'm sad to report that that right there, that is gone. So that bird nest is gone. I'm gonna just remove that frag. And the Manipura cap, wow, it's awesome that it's growing those little nubs down there. But the main colony is starting to go. So I need to do a water test to see exactly what salinity this tank is at the moment, as well as alkalinity and stuff like that. And again, I think it is the Mexican turbo snail that's knocking the whole colony off. But before that, that part probably got burned by the frog spawn. The frog spawn, as you can see, is getting too large for this tank. It's pressed up against the front glass, and this has only been like half a year, and I think it pretty much doubled in size. So I need to start fragging this bag or swabbing this with a smaller piece from that tank. So we will see. But besides that, everything else looks good. All the zoas are growing in nicely. I was worried about the Rasta, but it seems to do okay. Well, this part is not doing that well because it's kind of sitting in the shade. But the other two mini colony on the other side, up here and here, they are pretty much flat against the rock and looking fantastic. Bubble-tip anemone looks good. I have not seen the porcelain crab yet, so hope that it'll turn up at some point. Unless Mochi ate them, which I'm not sure if that's possible. Actually, swing over on this side too. Yeah, do not see the porcelain crab. So that is TBD to see what happened to him. Some of you guys will be happy to see that the yellow-tailed blue damsel is still alive and well and kicking. And of course, Mochi is doing excellent. Now, one thing that I wanted to check out is how much growth we'll get with the green star polyp in 2 weeks. As you can see, it kind of crawled over the sand trap and is kind of crawling up the back wall. I'll swing over there in a little bit. And it's kind of encroaching onto this piece of rock from bottom up. Now at the bottom, these guys have not spread as much. Probably because it's like zero water flow down there. I'm gonna install like an MP10 here just to add some flow, just to see if they'll encourage growth and get rid of these dead spot right here. Although in some way this dead spot is kind of like a blessing because all the things that trap down here is really easy to siphon up, which I will do later after shooting this video. And in terms of GSP growth, you're gonna see it really went gangbuster up here on this part. And I'm also curious to see, has it spread onto that piece of rock. Purposely kind of left that piece of rock right there just to see how fast until the GSP will colonize a small rock like this, like jump from the acrylic bottom to the rock. That will let me know how much time I have before I need to prune them back. And they are growing awfully close to the rock. Dandro are looking good. Right now they're not open. But when I first got home, these are all open nicely, so these guys are healthy. And look at Mochi. Mochi is walking around. That means he is hungry. But he does have a pretty full belly right now. Maybe he did eat the porcelain crab. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see a porcelain crab anymore. But yeah, he is on the move, so he is on the hunt. Alright, well, let's look at the last tank. This tank is not doing so great. Probably because I forgot to give instruction to Sally to kind of add water to this tank. So this is the ghost shrimp feeding tank. Oh, whoa. Check this out, amphipods. Look at this. Actually, more than one. Look at this guy. I didn't realize they have freshwater amphipods. They look exactly like the saltwater one. Really, really interesting. Anyways, all the plants like kind of just disappeared. There's some tenant from in the water, which is fine because like that's being released from the spider wood. I think I saw one ghost shrimp swimming around when I first got back, but I think that may be it. So I need to reload this tank. And a lot of you guys have recommended me feeding maybe like mollies, convert the mollies to saltwater and feed them, but I do not have a spare saltwater tank to host the molly. So I may try just like keeping some freshwater molly here and try feeding Mochi with them just to see how he reacts. Most likely it's just be like, oh, okay, just another fish. Just eat the mollies just like a damsel. That's normal. So I may try that as well because I do want some fish here as well. I'm not sure if I'll go through the trouble of acclimating the mollies to salt water simply because I need to keep a freshwater tank for the ghost shrimp as well. So that's my next step. But this tank, besides the plant looking a little sad, most of the issue is just adding water. So I'll just top that off in a little bit, and that should be that. So all in all three tanks are looking pretty good. Look at Mochi. he is really active right now. I think he's just hungry. So all 3 tanks are looking pretty good. Consider that I've been gone for 12 days. And things, especially in this 45 gallons, seems to really have grown in place. That's one thing that I always kind of stress. Like, the less we stick a hand into the tank, the better things grow. And I firmly believe that, but sometimes I just cannot help myself. I just keep sticking my hand in there and tweak. All right. Sorry for the rambling. Here, let me switch back to myself. As a side note, I got super tan. Before going on this trip, my tan from a scale of 1 to 10 is maybe like 2. After I got back, I look at my back, right? Because I did so much like snorkeling, I think my tan level is probably like 13 right now. But I got a lot of awesome footage. Like I mentioned before, after seeing these corals in the natural habitats, and how they grow, they're pretty much like 1 or 2 types of corals or 3 types of coral, just entire view. It's just that. They don't have like a cluster of different mixture. It's more like 2 or 3 species dominating the entire space. And the way they grow, intermingle into each other, it just gives me a new perspective. And I want to try a different approach in terms of aquascaping. Maybe not like a cluster of different things, but more focusing on large colony of just like 2 or 3 huge species, and with a tiny little bit of other things. We will see. That's a whole different topic that I want to get into, but I want to cut together these travel videos first. We got insane coral reefs. We got like whale sharks. We got visiting the pet center at Manila. Thank you, by the way, for all of you guys that recommended it. It's a really interesting experience. I actually did not know that selling corals is illegal in Philippines until I'm on the way back. I was wondering, like, how come there's nobody selling corals? It's all fish. So maybe that's why. I was like, oh, okay, so how do people keep reef tank in Philippines? All right, well, enough rambling. I'll close the video out here. This is just like a quick update of how the tank looks after 2 weeks of absence, after 2 weeks of me not sticking my hands in there. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, see you guys next Sunday, 9:30 a.m. sharp. Until then, have a great week. Bye.